Pick it up. Yeah. Hello everyone, and welcome to Sattology, which is the event today. Welcome to all the audience and all the authors. The whole day has been planned very well by Aditya, so I'm looking forward to it as much as everyone here. But also welcome to Alliant. I know many of you. I need to say welcome to San Diego. So that's the exciting part of today, that you get to see so many new things, so many new authors, and so many new perspectives and thoughts. So this is Alliant Campus. Alliant is a university in California. We have 6 campuses in California. We also have a campus in Mexico City. That campus is really an affiliated school. They're not our own campus, but we have schools in psychology, in law, in education. We have a school. My school is School of Management and Leadership, which is the business management school. I'm the dean for that school, Rachna Kumar. I've met several of you already and look forward to meeting more of you later. We have a school in forensics. And so all of these schools are represented in all our campuses in California. Since I'm the School of Management, I will talk about some of our programs, which is MBA, doctoral programs, which is DBA, Doctorate in Business Administration, and a PhD in Leadership. And we have MS programs, MS in Data Analytics, MS in Healthcare Analytics, and an MS in Information Systems and Technology. So other than that, I know I'll see a lot of you over the rest of the day, but it is my pleasure to welcome you, to be with you most of the day today. If you see me coming in and out, that's only because I have a few meetings. I have my team here. Anytime you need anything, contact them, contact me. I have another team member who's the director of our diversity and equity initiative, and I will ask him to say a few words as well. So here's your mic.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Mohammed Ahmed, and I serve as the head of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging here at Alliance International University. And I want to welcome you all to our beautiful campus. Thank you to our partners for hosting such a great conference and program. One of our important one of the most important things that we as an institution would like to continuously do is to provide these type of partnerships where we're inviting the very diverse communities around our university to come to our campus, help inspire our students, our staff, our faculty. So this is just one of many partnerships, and hopefully we could collaborate and do this similar partnership every year as this conference continues to grow. So welcome. I'll be around, and if you have any questions, we'll be able to help get those answers for you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you, Rachna Kumar and Dr. Mohammed. And I'm very grateful that you helped us organize our first college-based event of Sattology ever. And we have more than many viewers watching us live, almost like 100,000. And also, Dr. Mohammed, thank you for sharing wisdom that you had. So this conference is a little bit unique. So in the USA and throughout the world, we do not have open dialogues on language, culture, and history. And it has been changing. So in this conference, we're going to have different perspectives from the leading authors. We have some of the best-selling authors in North America and the in the history. Both have to gel in to create a new language. So the word mythology, Sanskrit word is called myth, is the root word which British anthropologist saying one of the British authors antonym of that word mythology. But the English is if Australian speaks English, it will be totally different, and Louisiana guy speaks English.
The party, just trying to be nice. What are you doing this weekend? And they said, we are going to the beach, we'll go get tan and we do this. I said, you're already fair. Why would you like to burn your skin? And this lady, wonderful lady, tells me, you goddamn Indians, you have no idea what a beautiful skin tone you have. since that day, since that day, I began to call myself naturally tanned. So that's where we are. Now, the topic is very interesting, and it's very important because I know very little of it. Our first visit to Disneyland here, I read Disney's quotation. If you want to look at the world in a different perspective, look at it from the eyes of the child. It has stuck in my mind. And since then, I have begun to learn to ask questions, making inquiries. I'm the perfect guy to be part of moderating this show because I know nothing. So all the questions that I will have will come to you, will be from an ignorant mind about the native culture, traditions, and you guys have done an outstanding work, that I know. So, for the purposes of the audience, I would say, Adit Satsangi, everybody knows that he has done a wonderful book and breaking mythology, bringing truth in front of all of us. The native history and culture, that's so very, very critical for all of us because we are all natives of some place wherever we have belonged to. That's who we are, regardless of whichever part of the world, whichever part of the planet you have lived in, you are native of that. How would anybody feel if the native is uprooted, regardless of what color, skin, race, religion you belong to? So the moment you feel uprooted, that's the time when the question comes about, what are the natives of that place? Who knows that place better than the natives themselves? So Aditya Satsangiji, I will start with you on this subject matter, because I know you have come on Jaipur Dialogue many times in our TV show, and that's the part of the inquiry which is very important. So shoot ahead and tell us something about this native part of it. How did it get impacted? How was the nativity forgotten? How can we make it live?
Thank you. Thank you, Vibhuti and thank you for all the viewers listening. I'll just say from my perspective, we have many other prominent authors here who can correct me, and on the audience also many prominent authors are here. So the native definition in my book, Gold, Glory and God, which I wrote, and it has become a bestseller in Argentina and Mexico, not in the US. So when I wrote that book, and the idea about writing that book came from that I've written a lot about the Mahabharata, Ramayana, those cultures, and with Nilesh and other people, but I did not understand this country very well. Even though this is my home since '96, but I did not understand. So when I was researching the history of this country, then suddenly I was invited to a lodge and in West Virginia, where I had to go in a hot chamber, and there was some coal pit was made in the middle, and I was sitting with a group of people whom I did not know. And even though I drove all of them, but I was not introduced. I was using my car to take them to the place in the middle of a forest, because I came to know now that it was banned to be practiced. The US law banned it. And so I was doing something illegal that time, maybe. So we went there, and in that, they were simulating the experience in the womb of a mother. And there were heavy prayers going on in that hot chamber. And then I was so mesmerized with that. And then when I researched it, and that experience of because I researched everything, then the definition which I made, because I've done everything unique in the life so far, so I've not copied anyone. So the definition I thought, a person is called a native if it follows the native culture, native religion, and the native ethics in life, which is truly native, and which is connected to the ground of that land. Because natives of Africa are different, natives of Asia are different, natives of USA are different. Natives of USA share common traits with Canada, USA. I came to know that we need to have a new definition. I'm 3% native and 4% native, but the native has to be in the form of the language, the culture, and the food. Food is extremely important. And these three things, which most of the modern universities also are not able to do research on. In fact, there's an old British law which bans the study of anthropology of Europeans in any non-European country. And still it is being followed. Now, if you look at all the political happenings today, what is happening, African Union is like standing up, is all connected to the old historical mistakes that happened many years back. So it's very important to study the native cultures and define native.
Thank you for a very, very clear opening statement, Aditya. We will come back to you again on this subject matter. I have great pleasure in introducing you, Mr. Arif Ajakia. Mr. Arif Ajakia is of Pakistani origin, lives in London, a very vocal man, runs his own YouTube channel, has embraced, to the best of my knowledge, the Sanatan Dharma of Hindus, believes in the universal practices of life, and he is very vocal about it. And he says that the universal approach to life cannot be negated or ignored. So Arif Ajakia ji, whichever way you feel convenient, please share your thoughts the transition, and why? I mean, one of the questions that we are talking about here is why are the universities and educational establishments refraining from, hesitating to talk about truth?
Thank you, Vibhuti-ji. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Well, sitting in this great country, a country of migrants, who can be bigger migrant than me, myself? My parents born in India, migrated to Pakistan. I was born in Pakistan. We moved to Saudi Arabia when I was 9. We moved back to Pakistan when I was 14. Then I went to Saudi Arabia when I was 20 for job. At 22, I moved to Dubai. Then I moved to Europe in 1990 to Belgium, 20 years in Belgium. Carrying French nationality, living in London, have lived in Spain, Holland, Germany, sitting in America. My daughter born in Belgium, my son born in Holland. So who can be bigger migrant than me? Now talking about culture, I've never thought of my origin, that who am I, from where I have come. Because I was thinking that we are Pakistanis, we are taught in madrasas that we are of Arab origin, because Islam came from Arab. And our culture is Arab. We were always taught hatred for India and Indian cultures, although in Pakistan, in daily practice, we follow Indian cultures because we are of Indian origin. And before few years, I started the most difficult journey of my life, searching of my origin. That who am I? From where do I come? What is my culture? Where my parents were born and where my ancestors were born and lived. And then I realized that I am a person of Indian origin, neither Pakistani nor Arab, because Pakistan itself is an Indian origin. Now I started searching of my ancestral culture, religion, practices, and more I went in that journey. It was a revealing journey. And I started feeling that such a rich culture, such a rich history, wisdomful practices, Sanatan, that is what is my origin. And then I started reading Gita, and I found many teachers like Aditya ji. I often call him and I ask different questions. Like a student, I ask him, what is this? Why this? And the best philosophy of life. I have lived in so many places and I love all these cultures. French culture is very beautiful. Spanish culture is very beautiful. Here in America, it's a global village, America. Every kind of people you will find here. And when I came to San Diego, I fell in love with this city. This is such a wonderful city. I've been to New York, Washington, but you may know that New York, Washington is just like London. But this city is a great city. And I started feeling that this country is far ahead of the rest of the world. And this country has given a lot to the world in science, in technology, in development. So again, coming to my cultural journey, Sanatan is a beautiful philosophy of life. It teaches you tolerance. It teaches you coexistence. It teaches you loving every creature of this universe, be it a plant, an animal, a human being, anything. We talk about climate change today, but Sanatan is speaking of climate and ecology since centuries and millennials. We talk about vegetarian food. Sanatan teaches since thousands of years that we should not harm animals and we should be vegetarian and these things. So it's for example, Aditya ji said that, or Vibhuti ji said that we are not taught in universities the truth. The truth is that we should go to our basics. We have lost our ways in certain things. And we have lost the basics of life. And my journey has taught me that going to basic gives you very much eternal satisfaction. And I don't believe in intolerance. Although I was taught my first lesson in madrasa at the age of 4, that you are super race. Hitler, he said, super race, blue eyes, blonde hair, this, that. This is we are taught at the age of 4. That because you are Muslim, only you are correct. Only you will go to paradise. No matter how many sins you do, you will go to paradise. No matter how many good deeds Mr. Vibhuti Jha has. He spent his life serving humanity, but he will not go to paradise because he is not Muslim. So this brings a superiority complex. This brings intolerance, that I would start feeling that the person sitting beside me is not a Muslim, so he is not equal to me. And equality and equality is the basis of life. I think I have been speaking so long, so I will stop here.
No, it was yours is a remarkable personal journey. I mean, your remarkable personal journey is something that we can't ignore. It's your experience. You are the native to that experience of yours. So we have to we respect that deeply. And you said something very powerful, that Sanatan teaches tolerance. You know, I made a little bit of a thinking on that subject matter. And I say, we need not use the word tolerate each other. You know, in the English language, tolerate is on a no choice basis. I got to tolerate. That's the intonation of the entire word. And I always say, as individuals, as people, as living elements, we need to respect and accept each one as we are. That's the key word. We must, as conscious human beings, replace the word tolerance with acceptance and respect. That's what it is. If you are following sports, Champions League soccer, every soccer player wears the badge of respect. There is a reason for that. And that's where we need to do a cultural part of it. The third gentleman here is Mr. Nilesh Oak. I mean, he is such a scholar that I'm in awe of him. How does he find time to do such deep research and everything else? And he's very meticulous and very articulate in conveying that message. So my thought process, and all three of them have been on my television show. So you can Google it and you can find it there. So Nilesh Oakji has done tremendous work in this domain of native culture and everything else. But culture is a very important word. I would like you to dwell upon this element, why culture is critical.
Thank you. Thank you, Vibhuti-ji. From the other question that you asked, the panelist, is how the native culture, I think in their defense, number of you, all of you would be familiar with these words, but if not, they are not complicated words, but sometimes, you know, if you give it to an academic person, the person may take longer. Emic and etic, you would have heard those words. If not, etic in a simple language, it's an outsider person's view of a specific culture. Emic is an insider's person's view of a specific culture. Now, as he described his journey, you know, so he is a native of what? I mean, that's very, very difficult to explain. If I look at my life, my total lifespan, I spent more time in North America than in India, where I was born and was brought up or grew up. Okay, so do I know about the American native culture? And when I talk of American native culture, also in a very pragmatic way, I have to understand some of the foundations on which the America was formed, you know, the deist, but also the Judeo-Christian tradition. How much I know about it, that's the first question. And of course, about the native, in the sense of what is the right word today, I don't know, but the Native Americans or whatever is the right word used. And frankly, I have to admit my frailty. So other than knowing the names, and I took interest in knowing about the native cultures of America, but it's actually minuscule or non-existent. So I lived in Canada also, in America. So Canada, like I lived in Calgary and all the roads, and that was a good start, I would say. I mean, start with the road names, but those all were Blackfoot Indians, so Blackfoot Trail, Crow Child Trail. And, you know, that's how at least you know these things exist. And me and my wife, Ashwini, within America, we tried our best to go to different places trying to study the Native American cultures. But here is my frustration. Even when we have tried to reach them, try to understand their culture as is probably existed, frankly, they are divorced from it. I mean, they don't have a very clear idea of it. And so my suggestion to everyone here and everyone who is listening, the bright light for me, and this came maybe 20 years ago, came from one of the great American. How many of you have heard the name Joseph Campbell? Okay, so just like I don't know how I ran into him, but as an anecdote is worth telling. Sometime you get this what's the right word, like aha moment, you know. So I was eureka moment. I was cooking. This is I forget the place, but somewhere in North America. I was cooking, so I was listening to TV as opposed to watching it. So listening to the TV.
Important facets of history disappear, then we have nothing left in the society. So, in any of the campuses, and coming back to your question directly, is that there is no conscious attempt made by the US Department of Education, any of the state departments of education, whether it's California, New York, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, to change the curriculums where we can study those languages, the culture, the food eating habits, and their religion. There is no conscious effort. Everything is from, like you said, outside in perspective, like from a either a Abrahamic lens, and even I'll get to any outside lens, European lens. And the funny thing is, most of the Europeans are describing that how these people are. But I've not seen a native describing how Europeans are. I've not seen that document.
Thank you. Thank you. Arifji, your journey is an amazing journey from madrasa to enlightenment through other education and going through the various parts of the world and coming to the terms of that. You said something very interesting, that right from the early stages, you are taught that you are the most superior of everybody, right? Now, the question that comes to my mind is, in one of the television conversations that I had, and I asked this question. I have the habit of asking questions. I asked, hey, God is the smartest guy on the planet Earth. He created everything, made us go down on our knees to pray, whether it's in church, mosque, or a temple. We all go down why are we arguing about whose style is better than others? Whose style is more superior or fancy than the other one? The answer is nobody's. Each one is inside out, outside inside. Each one does whatever is permitted or evolves into that. Share with me your journey. How difficult was it from the community you live in? And how easy was it to integrate inside, outside into the new way of life that you have adopted?
Vibhutiji, as you said that you ask many questions. That's what I do always. And that's why I was called rebel in my family, in my Pakistani, my friends, because I asked for them, my questions were stupid questions. But when a logical mind starts thinking, they ask questions. For example, I asked to my mother one day, I said that you are my mother, you brought me to this world. You brought my brother, my sisters. Now you set some rules of life for us. And if I don't follow, will you burn me in fire? She said, no, of course not. I said, then why we say that God has created everyone, and in Islamic God, if we don't follow him, he will burn us in fire. Are you gone mad? Why are you asking these kind of questions? So we are not allowed to ask these kind of questions in our society, as you asked how difficult it was. And then my mother always told me that this is not your place. Go away from here because you will be killed by some fanatics. And we have millions, hundreds of millions in Pakistan. Now my journey, it was very difficult. My cousin came to London last year and he called me from Pakistan. He came and he said that I want to meet you. I said, I don't want to meet you. He said, we were playing together in childhood. I said, I don't know, after so many years you are coming. Maybe you are frustrated in your life and you want to commit suicide. The best way to commit suicide is kill a non-believer and go directly to paradise. So maybe you are on your shortcut journey of paradise and you have come here to kill me. So I don't trust you. I'm sorry. Even UK police has told me that don't meet your family or Pakistanis or because I'm an active human rights activist. I attend United Nations Human Rights Council's sessions since 1994 every year 3 times for several weeks. And I believe in human rights. I have studied human rights like for culture. When Vibhuti ji asked Aditya ji that why universities are not teaching. In United Nations, there is a committee, economic, social and cultural rights. And almost every country of the world is a signatory to that committee, have ratified that covenant. But nobody is implementing native cultures in their countries. For example, France is my country. I have nationality. I am proud to be French, but they don't allow Martinique people to practice their religion, their culture, their language. Same in Pakistan. My father, when he came from India to Pakistan in 1956, he did his matriculation secondary in Gujarati medium. But then Pakistan nullified all languages. And Pakistan said only one language, Urdu. An interesting point is that there is not a single person in Pakistan whose mother tongue is Urdu. There are Sindhis, there are Baloch, there are Punjabis, there are Pakhtuns, Hazara, Saraiki, Gujarati. Nobody's mother tongue is Urdu. So killing culture, native cultures is a crime. Because Pakistan and other countries have signed that covenant of economic, social and cultural rights committee of United Nations. So implementing is a duty of government. That implementing, now for example, India has 22 national languages. India has not forbidden local languages. In Pakistan, Karachi, where I was born, is capital of Sindh. Sindhi language is virtually dead. Because we are not allowed to teach in schools, we are not allowed to speak. So native culture and language is always part and parcel of a culture. So native culture, languages, practices should be promoted by government. Now you ask that why university is not are teaching, but it is duty of government to ask universities and educational institutes to promote native languages, native cultures. Now, as Aditya ji said, 26,000 languages in USA. You cannot teach everything, I understand. But you allow people to practice their mother tongue. I am a Gujarati origin. I don't know Gujarati. I'm ashamed that my mother tongue is Gujarati. Last year was the best part of my life that I went to India. And I stayed there for 1 month. And in the beginning of internet in 90s, I started looking for the small village where my father was born and where my ancestors for thousands of years were living. I could not find. But then Google Earth came and I was always looking, where is our ancestral village? And finally, last year, I went to my village. I cannot express how I felt. I fell down when I came out of car. I started crying. People gathered there. They knew that this man has come. He was not born here, but his all ancestors, because my father was born there and thousands of years they were born there. I was the first unlucky person not to be born in my native place. So when I went there, people gathered, entire village, there were 200, 250 people. They gathered and I fell down. I started crying and I cannot express the feeling how I felt because I was feeling all my ancestral souls are around me and they are welcoming me. They are saying, well done, boy, you have come to your place. So native culture, native belonging is very important in life. And that's what I have felt.
Thank you. Thank you so much. As we, next session is at 11 o'clock, so we'll break 5 minutes earlier, correct? But I wanted to have some questions from the audience as well, because that's one of the best ways to make an inquiry, to learn. But before that, I would request Nilesh ji to address one more question without getting into the political part of it, which is always painful. But academically, how do we make this happen in the universities? What must we do as people with voice, with ability to reach out to the universe through this media? We can reach out to what must people do to create a demand that this particular education must happen.
Thank you, Vibhuti-ji. And if you wouldn't have asked this question, no matter what you would have asked, I was going to respond to this one. I was going to say, I'm going to combine what Aditya-ji said, what Arif-ji said, which is, again, from a practical example. So last 10 years, right here in California, you may know and so we are talking universities, but remember, who is getting into universities? Like kids who are studying in our education system for 12 years, the 12th grade, and what kind of education they are going through, because those are the formative years, and whatever they have learned in those, it's very difficult to remove it and then start new. So in order, now this is specifically thinking, getting the Indian civilizational right information into American school curriculum. Number of you may know that the California textbook controversy, that's how it might be known. And so when I worked, I will tell you what happens from an ethic point of view, but also emic point of view. Ethic point of view, specifically from a university, although it's not about university, it's about the 1 through 12th grade curriculum. The elements, namely the faculties in universities, focused on, I will specifically take the Indian example, the Indian material getting into the curriculum, extremely anti against getting the anything emic or anything truthful information getting into the curriculum. So that's their policy. Yeah, American society is a kind of a litigious society, so everything turns it into a court case, unfortunately. It doesn't have to be. So there is a responsibility for the ethics side. I don't think they have kept up their side of the bargain. But let me quickly mention emic and then what we need to do, all of us. The emic side, which is what I was part of, involving maybe 40 plus academics, non-academics, but intellectuals, researchers and whatnot, and I'm being one of them. So I could sense that even the emic side couldn't come to terms with what should be included, because they were feeling overwhelmed as to what should be included, what should be excluded. And that is also a challenge, which is to say, hey, you know what, for 100 years so, maybe from the time of Sir William Jones, nothing was getting included. So now we need to, this is our chance and need to put everything inside. Well, that will not happen. So I think these are baby steps that we need to do. And for what is for us? So, well, there is a committee of 40 people who was working on it and they had their struggle. There is the ethics side with a certain mindset. That's fine. Things change over time. But what do we need to do? I get this question, frequently asked questions everywhere I lecture, say especially from an Indian community. They said, Nileshji, when are all this knowledge that you are creating, the original Itihasa, history, when is it going to become part of the textbook? And they're not referring to North American textbook, they're referring to even the textbooks in India. And I tell them, again, if we think the politicians are going to do it, no, it won't happen directly. They will do it if they see their fate is directly connected to how people vote for them and so on. But my point is, what are we doing? And to the Indian crowd, I tell them, with the same enthusiasm that you discuss the Bollywood movies or cricket, with the same enthusiasm when you start discussing in each of your social gathering about this issue of having the right knowledge of any native culture, but specifically say Indian culture into this, when that happens, politicians would listen. So, we can do small steps. We call it Swadharma. It doesn't have to be complicated wherever you are. It's like, you find something, an essay written somewhere, a paper written in a research journal, or you listen to a talk, somewhere, YouTube world and whatnot. When you like something, it's on the right thing. Do you like it? Do you share with it? Do you discuss it? If you're not doing it and then you are wondering someone out there is going to do it, I don't think that will happen.
Thank you so much. This is basically a search, an inquiry, a journey to learn about each other. Look at each one of us. How different are we? But how similar are we? Let's look at that element. And to that end, I would invite 3 questions from the audience. Please state your name, raise your hand, tell your name, and do a very quick intro, and then question directed to the panel or individual. All is welcome. So please do. Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Richard Gordon. I run Sattology, and Adi and I have put this amazing event together, so thank you for coming. My question is, and it's always the evolution, so it's a deep topic, but if you give a quick answer. Listening to you and listening to my own history, do you think that we're born into a culture or we embrace a culture?
Brilliant. Any one of you or all of you? You can all answer one by one.
So I'll give it to Arif first.
The question is, are we born in a culture or we learn a culture? How do we do it? Am I correct?
That is correct.
Well, we are born in a culture. And if we are not practicing that culture where we are born, we have to learn it. And it's a duty of everyone, no matter what stage of life. I started searching of my origin, my culture in my 50s. Now I'm 59. So in early 50s, I started searching. So it's never late. But be proud of your culture, because no culture is bad culture. Every culture has beauty. Be proud of your culture. And whenever you have a chance, learn about your culture if you are not living in your culture.
Okay, I'll quickly, so your question was, are you born into a culture or do you learn a culture? My answer is yes. Okay, and I'll tell you just quickly, short one from my experience. Being born in a Hindu culture, let's say India, I thought I knew it. Okay, until just I have learned from many others, but Joseph Campbell, for example, actually he gave in some sense an ethic point of view, outsider's point of view, and frankly, I learned a lot more about Hindu culture from his viewing at a Hindu culture. So yes, you are born with it, but you also learn from it, and this is also true for about learning other cultures, which is to say, I was trying to learn, say, about Christianity just on my own when I was growing up in India. But I didn't quite get the idea, because the focus in India, unfortunately, is not so much telling about the Christianity. It's all on conversion and nothing more. And that's very sad. Okay. So what happened, again, my understanding or learning of Christianity in a very refreshing way is also through Joseph Campbell. So yes, you are born into it, but you also learn from others.
Thank you. Thank you. Aditya, your same question?
Yes.
It's a very profound question. So great. Thank you, sir.
So you are actually born into a culture and you also adopt a culture. So sometimes we are all, so many of the people here are born here, like my kids, I can say. So they follow an American culture. I was born in India and I follow a mix of American and Indian culture. But at the same time, we also need to, even though we are living in a global society, and earlier one of the Arifji said that how the people, this country is a global village. In this country is a melting pot. At the same time, we cannot remove the conditions which made it a melting pot. So we need to keep all those ingredients alive. Like when we are tasting a dish, we savor the sauce, we savor the bread, we savor the ingredients in it, and that makes the dish very special, and that's what we need to preserve in this country.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. So go ahead.
My name is David Corbin, and thank you so much for your using applying the words melting pot, this great nation. I come from a foreign nation called New York.
Me too.
The United States is a melting pot. And yet, today, I see more than ever that which is in the melting pot is congealing. And there are separations. And so there are pockets, much like there are pockets of European Jews, Irish, and the like in New York. those cultures, thank you, those cultures assimilated. And they did not lose much of the nativity. Today, I'm seeing separation, this congealing, if you will. And there are walls. And there is a lack of assimilation. I would ask you to perhaps weigh in on what your observation is. Do you see what I'm seeing with the lines being hard and fast rather than the lines being jello of yesteryear and the cultural assimilation?
Let's see.
All right, my great question, by the way. My experience is limited to say 30 years, 32 years in North America. When I came here, I felt very much welcome. I came to Canada, for example. The kind of welcome that possibly I did not receive within India when I traveled within India. So yes, as a newcomer, that was great. In terms of are there being strong boundaries that being drawn now? I don't know the answer to that. I don't think it's a universal American phenomenon, but with certain cultures possibly. I mean, I'm not the right person to tell that. I've definitely seen from my school days to now in the workplace, actually at a workplace until 10 years ago, I could very comfortably discuss a religion. For example, I was a corporate trainer. I worked for General Electric for many years, and I have trained thousands of executives. And while making a point, I would ask them sometime as a way of metaphor. I said, is it okay? Because you asked the permission. Is it okay if I discuss a religious example to convey the point? And I never had a problem people saying, no, don't discuss religion. That was fine. And it was very comfortable. But last 10 years, I have actually lost touch with the corporate. That's one. But I don't know with the so-called postmodernism really getting into a gear or wokeism. I mean, if the people have heard the term, it's like people are a bit scared to say about anything, especially if their commercial or financial interests are weaved in, so just stay neutral. That's what I noticed in the last 10 years.
I will go to the right here, Mr. Dr. Muhammad. Are you Dr. Muhammad? Am I right?
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, sir.
So I came to this country as a refugee from the Horn of Africa as a little baby, and in my experience, when I came, the national climate in the U.S. was much more positive. People were they were curious. Say something in your language. They wanted to learn about my culture
And identity. So I think one challenge right now is that the climate overall is toxic, that identity or culture has been weaponized. Now that if you're from India or Pakistan or anywhere in the world, you're deemed as an immigrant, migrant, refugee, you're a threat to society. So that is a problem where people are not as comfortable in speaking their language or displaying their culture because of that pushback. And the other important question is, why are universities not teaching this or being involved in this? And I think the challenge to that is culture and language has been tied to market. Institutions are looking at this from an economic point of view. We need to teach or share culture that is maybe Mandarin or Chinese because there's a market there, or India. So I think we're losing the curiosity as a society of, well, who are these people? What can I learn from them? What could we benefit from them? But on the other side, I think there is a pushback. There's fear. And a lot of this is driven in politics. So there is that narrative. And also every generation of every culture changes. When my parents came, they were speaking language. They were open about displaying their culture. But second generation, third generation were born there. They're more and more assimilating. And they don't know much about their own culture or barely even speak their own language. So I think that is also contributes to the challenge.
Thank you. Any comment on that, Aditya?
So, my comment on that will be, like, for example, the cultural aspect. The cultural aspect has been very much ignored in all the campuses in North America, and the melting pot concept has been minimized in the US to a large extent because now we are seeing that people ignoring that this country was once inhabited by Native Americans. And now every other culture is saying, because they're bigger in numbers. So this numbers game has affected the melting pot concept. Because if you leave 10 human beings together and different languages, different cultures, they will find a way to cooperate with one another. But if you leave 10 individuals together and tell that two, you are special and rest of them are not special, then that group will never exist in future. So the whole concept of creating a mental superiority or exceptionalism. I'm not against exceptionalism because I am exceptional in many ways. With all humility, I am saying to the camera. but just generally saying that we have to recognize that everyone is exceptional, but at the same time leave them open. Like that's what Nilesh was saying. Don't interfere. Don't create a narrative that you are special or you are the only God's chosen people. Everybody is God's chosen people. Every human being has an equal right to the water, the sun, the air, and this is what human beings need. So once we keep that thing open, the melting pot automatically becomes rich.
Thank you. I thank you very much. One last question. I will take the fourth one and then we'll close the panel. Yes, sir. You go ahead. You can remain seated.
Okay. My name is Gokul Agarwala. I've been a management consultant for the last 50 years. In these 50 years, I've worked in physically over 60 countries and had an opportunity to meet a lot of cultures. And picking up on what Arif ji said, by the way, I'm meeting all of you for the first time in person, but I've met you all many, many times on the YouTube. So the story that Arif was talking about, his visit to India, he narrated in one of his stories very eloquently, and I can vouch that he did cry when he went to Gujarat. One of the things Arif said was that when he was studying in Pakistan, in madrasas, at the age of 4, he was taught, you're the best, you're the only one going to heaven, and, nobody else is going to stop you. I think in all my travels throughout the world, in some degree or the other, the same kind of message is conveyed to their population. When you go to Japan, and I've had a lot of dealings with Japan, I have a joint venture in Japan, but the people of Japan are taught that you are the direct descendant of the sun, and therefore you are the best human beings on earth, and you're superior to everybody else. And that's the reason why in a place like Japan, immigration is very much restricted, particularly of people of Islamic origin. The same thing goes throughout the world in some degree or the other. And I think that is what they are taught. I don't think there's anything wrong in that. The wrong is this whole idea of superiority, that what my culture says is most superior. And that is exactly what Sanatan Dharma does to differentiate itself. It says all religion, everybody is superior. Nobody is more than the other. So when Modi ji talks about, when I talk to people, I look in the eye straight. I don't look up, I don't look down. And I think that is what the theme of this whole panel has been, that accept, celebrate, and move forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. As we close this panel now, because we have a next one coming up, I want to thank all of you for your very patient listening and asking questions, which was very important. One question answers 1,000 queries. That's the way I always put it. So with that thought, thank you very much, all three of you. You are such friends and such academics. I don't even feel formal to tell you anything. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
So Vibhuti, you stay here. Everybody stay here. So this is the book launch for Sharad Mohan book, the latest book of Sharad Mohan. So Manish, if you can bring Sharad Mohan's books, all books here, copies, multiple copies. So Dave Corbin and all the authors can come for the second panel. and we'll all collectively release the book of Sharad. And after that, the next book launch will be of Sastri Yanamandra. Sastri ji, next panel will be your book launch.